If you've seen the new Chainsaw Man movie, then you probably laughed at this scene.
And she's a narcissist, a pathological liar, and a racist, so nah.
If you're a fan of South Park, then it probably reminded you of this one.
Cartman isn't our friend anymore.
How come?
Because he's a fat, racist, self-centered, intolerant, manipulating sociopath.
That's because Power is inspired by Cartman. Whether it's Power's love of taking obnoxiously long dumps, Meowie and Mr. Kitty, or laughing at other people's problems, once you know it's there, you notice it everywhere. And what we're seeing is Fujimoto taking Cartman's archetype as an inspiration for Power. I'm Gio's Godfather, and today we'll be exploring how Power evokes Eric Cartman. This video is the second in my running series called Watch Chainsaw Man with Me, where I'll be talking about the anime, movies, and manga. When I think of Cartman and characters like him, Roger Smith, Bender Rodriguez, Peter Griffin, their common thread is chaotic absurdism. They're entertaining sociopaths, someone you can laugh at because you're never the victim, and they're always the heart of comedic chaos. They're also otherized, whether a robot, alien, or fat like Peter and Eric. These characters have to be distinct from the rest of their friends, because visual differences reinforce the expectation that we judge their behavior differently. We let them get away with things because they make us laugh. That's why Power has devil horns. We know from the second we see her grand entrance, she's on some bullshit. So it's from this archetype that Fujimoto is taking. Yes, Cartman is the character he directly points to, but more broadly, Power is the latest in a lineage of hilarious sociopaths that are the heart of comedy in American cartoons. She just happens to be Japanese. When I think of Cartman, I think of schemes. They come in all shapes and sizes. Some are based on a child's misunderstanding of the world. Sometimes they're for money. Some are just him fucking with other people because it's fun. And others are for revenge. Plotting takes brains, and he's got them. Power's got a lot less mental horsepower. It's like comparing a Ferrari to a go-kart. Well, she's the smartest fiend, that's not saying much. So she schemes way less and way worse. But ultimately just as funny. Like when she tried to get Meowie back. Like I mentioned last week, she realized in the moment that she had something Denji wanted. And if she lied to Denji about letting him have it, could get her cat back. Her plan? Kill Denji and trade him for Meowie. Of course it goes so poorly that she ended up getting herself and Meowie eaten by the Bat Devil, only surviving because Denji's a decent kid. Another important part of this archetype is that they gotta be a little dumb. Whether it's Peter just being an idiot or Bender being a robot that was made to bend girders, if they're too smart, then the audience will think they should have known better. So Matt and Trey get around this by having Eric's grand plans based on a child's misunderstanding of the world. Like in my favorite episode of South Park.
Margarine.
He sees the girls in his 4th grade class playing with a paper fortune teller and immediately has to have the future telling device for himself. So he sets up a science lab and has Butters seemingly commit harikiri off a building so he can send Butters undercover to steal it from the girls. Like the rest of the characters in this mold, Eric is often responsible for the inciting incident. The one that kicks off all the plot in the episode, like he does for the rest of Margarine. Because he threw a pig off the roof dressed as Butters, the Stotches think he's dead. So when Butters completes his mission and comes back home, his parents think he's resurrected from the Indian burial ground as a bloodthirsty demon. Again, hilarious. But remember, Cartman's the first mover here. Both the A-plot and B-plot happen because Eric stopped at nothing to get what he wanted. Power also has a turn at moving all the action. After she kills Kevin the Sea Cucumber Devil, gets the idea to save Meowie, and then becomes the reason Denji beats the Bat Devil. Yes, Denji's making his own choices just like Butters' parents are, but Powie's the first mover too. I've got some spoilers ahead if you haven't finished reading Part 1 Public Safety arc in the manga yet. Another part of their relative intelligence is their impulse control. Power's is non-existent. She sees a car and Kobani says it's hers, and immediately wants to drive it and lies that she has her license. Kobani is already pretty timid and scared of Power, and scared in general. Of course, Power has no clue how to drive. And echoing a similar setup where Cartman lies to Stan to get him to drive his Uncle Roy's boat, Power crashes the car into one of Denji's bodyguards, killing him. Just like Stan crashes into a dam. Luckily, it turns out Power killed an assassin, and of course immediately took credit for it, saying this was her intention the whole time, even hitting her catchphrase.
The glory of the kill is mine!
This is another trope for the archetype. When the chips are down and there's no way out, they get saved in a funny way. Fujimoto having her celebrate accidentally killing the right guy is hilarious. Till season 19, South Park was a sitcom, so any changes the boys would go through were rolled back by the next episode. Sure, Wilsiak is on the moon and Tom Cruise eventually joins him, but for the first 20 years of the show, everything pretty much stayed the same. This meant that Cartman's still the fat, racist, intolerant asshole we know and love. Any sort of change can only be played for laughs. Like the episode My Future Self and Me, where the dumb lazy adults trick the kids into doing their homework and staying off of drugs by getting a fake future version of themselves to show up and scare them straight. The boys find out it's a setup and Cartman helps them get revenge. At the end of the episode, Cartman has a moment of clarity saying, maybe I ought to change for the better. his actual future self shows up and says, "Great job, Eric, this is the day that changes it all." And thinking he's being tricked again, says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go eat a bunch of cookies." His future self immediately turns into a fat, disheveled mechanic and curses past Cartman. Chainsaw Man is a serialized shonen. The format necessitates characters having motion, so when Power dies a second and final time, by sacrificing herself for Dennis at the end of the public safety arc, it's a moment of genuine pathos for her character. She's grown so much, and this final act was proof. We feel the sense of loss not only for Power, but for the person she was becoming, making her death that much more meaningful. The difference between sitcom and serial is key here. South Park made the switch to serial, although loosely serial, I'd say, after season 20. The most important difference between them, for understanding Cartman and Power, is tone. Serialized stories have to engage with emotion. Whether it's Power's death or Denji's losses, they don't pull their punches on feelings. Sitcoms do. The rule for them is, don't be genuine, just be funny. Matt and Trey use that for laughs. Like when Cartman's seemingly expressing genuine fear for his future, and the boys are like, "Oh man, Cartman, what's up? This is sad." Then, Cartman tells them he's afraid he can never be a NASCAR driver because he's not dumb or poor enough. Hilarious. Serialized stories can be funny because anything can be funny. But the best sitcoms are only trying to be funny. Fujimoto uses this structural difference to make Power a redeemable, and eventually redeemed, version of Cartman. Because think about it, we never really see her do all that much bad shit. Yes, she stomps ants and uses point-o cards without asking. She's dumb and impulsive and claims to want humans to suffer. She's more bark than bite. Cartman fed Scott Tenorman his own parents. He's unforgivable. He's too far gone. And if they tried, when the others shoot it and drop with his classic, "Ha, I got you kinda" shtick, it'd be weird. Because Power doesn't have the emotional intelligence to explain it, but she's looking for friendship. First in Meowie, then in Denji and Aki. Cartman does have the emotional intelligence. He just doesn't care about actually having friends or making genuine relationships. He's truly a sociopath, who just wants people to think he's cool and not fat and make $10 million. Honestly, he'd make a great CEO. Matt and Trey made their view on Cartman's future pretty clear with the COVID episode ending, where Cartman's a spiteful, homeless, angry alcoholic out on the street, while the rest of the town is gathered inside a restaurant for a reunion. And this ties back to structure. Fujimoto pulls his punches with Power. Remember the time when Cartman used Kenny's death to build his own Shakey's Pizza with baby fetuses? Yeah, Power never does anything close to that, because she's in a serial story, not a sitcom. Giving her multitudes makes her feel like a real person and not just the engine for laughs. Even though she's funny in almost every scene, we still get to see her grow emotionally and form friendships. Her being like Cartman acts as a way in, the way the audience can immediately recognize her as a type of character they've seen before. And then Fujimoto takes those expectations and plays them against you for a heartfelt payoff, having her sacrifice herself for Denji. And to me, this is the brilliance of Fujimoto on display. He understands what we're used to, he's seen what we've seen, especially here in the US, and then he takes those expectations and then plays it against us for an emotional payoff that works both for the story and for the characters in it. Like I said, it's brilliant. While writing this, I was doing a lot of thinking about both characters and about the sitcom structure. I ended up reminding myself of a gimmick from the Nicktoons era, the crossover. If you're too young or too cool to have seen it back then, Nickelodeon takes shows like Fairly Odd Parents and Jimmy Neutron and finds some excuse as to why they ended up in each other's world. Honestly, they were kind of fun and I remember them fondly. Jimmy and Timmy were pretty much the same type of main character. One was dumb, one was smart, so that got me thinking, what if there was a South Park Chainsaw Man crossover? How would Power and Cartman get along? At first I thought the only way in with Power is some major bonding moment, like saving the cat, or Aki putting up with her and housing her. Unless there was some way that Cartman could break the ice, I don't know if they'd get along. And for Cartman's side, I don't think he would care that she's cute. He'd probably make fun of her for talking weird too. But then I kept thinking, he might find her useful if he had something in mind she could help with. If he could get past the initial abrasion of how similar she is, he might see she's lacking in smarts. So like Butters, who's extremely naive and easily manipulated, she'd seem ripe for the picking. If Cartman saw her use her blood weapons, he'd probably say, "That's freaking sweet," and be that much more excited about trying to use her to get what he wanted. And for her, I think she might find Cartman interesting if she was able to, without prompting him, hear all the awful things he's done. She might think, this guy likes making humans suffer too. I kinda like him. I could go on with the hypotheticals, but I'll just say, I think a crossover special could work. There's at least a few ways they could get along together. When Fujimoto said Power evokes Cartman, I think it's very clear what he means. He took inspiration from the kind of character Cartman is, and like Eric's peers, Power is the latest in a line of great chaotically absurd characters. But because he put Power into the story structure he's using, the serialized shonen, he was able to let her grow, and use that growth as a way to play against our expectations. letting her become a more well-rounded character and a better person, and ultimately giving us pathos a sitcom never can. But what do you think? Could Powie and Eric get along? Did I miss any obvious similarities or differences? Let me know. If you're still watching, that rules. Thank you. This is my second video in my series called Watch Chainsaw Man with me. And if you like this, then tune in next week for a new video and check out the first one if you haven't already.